It's just the two of us here, so you can talk about whatever you feel you want to. I know it's got that silly slow chat thing on. How am I? I'm okay. I'm hoping that the sound and video are working properly tonight and that I sorted the issue by not having any other internet things going. How are you? And is there anything in particular that you would like to ask me or talk about with me? Oh, I am so glad that it's running properly because if it wasn't, I really wouldn't know what to do. I was saying earlier that I'm probably gonna be doing these live streams on a Thursday because I do the public one on a Friday, but sometimes I might swap them over and sometimes I might even do a weekend. I'm sorry to hear that, and it's up to you if you want to go into any more detail about what that is. With this chat, I'm not reading out names and I'm not reading out the details of everything that gets said, just what I need to say, I think, for it to make sense to anyone who's watching it back and hasn't been here to read the chat. So yeah, I'm happy for you to tell me more about how you're struggling, but only if you want to, no pressure. I am, after all, just a stranger on the internet. Trying to stop my hair going in my eyes, that's the only thing when it's curled. Keeps covering one eye. Makes me look like I'm trying to do a Jessica Rabbit impression or something. I'm glad that at least people have been able to get the chat link to work. Appointments can always be really, really tricky. Don't feel bad for me that it's you that's joined. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't feel up to it, and if I didn't feel that I wouldn't ask to know more if I didn't feel that I could deal with it. I really hope that I'm just reading what you said. The phone, as in this phone, I guess you mean. I think you're the first person that's ever, oh God, I can't put it back together, that's ever recognised it as a phone. So many people think it's just an ornament. But I only have a landline because it came with my internet package. Yeah, appointments can be really tricky because I think even even if they're ones that you know could result in helping you, I think there's still always that feeling of dread. And I don't think a lot of people realise how emotionally and mentally draining they are. I know I've had appointments in the past, and after them I feel like I can't even think straight. And if somebody asks me to fill them in on what's happened, it's just, it's almost like it's too much for my brain to process. But I'm hoping that you'll be able to take some time this evening and process it all, and when you get up tomorrow you'll feel a bit better about things. I think it's really hard when it is a medical issue resulting from your eating disorder. I had to have, oh God, what was it? I think it was an MRI, because they needed to check my heart. There's nothing wrong with my heart. They just needed to check something, and they put me on the table and they gave me the injection of dye or whatever it is, and they did the scan and it was all fine. And then I was out and I had to lie flat on a table, and there was no sort of sides to it. It was just like a completely flat table. And I could not get myself up from lying down on that table after the appointment, and I just burst into tears. And this was quite a few years ago, when I was much more unwell than I am now. And it was just being an adult woman, not able to sit up by myself on a table. For some reason, it was more than I could cope with. And yeah, I did just burst into absolute floods of tears. And it wasn't even as if I'd been anxious about the appointment before I had it, because I knew it was just a checkup and there was most likely to be no issue. But for me, it was kind of a feeling of almost, well, I've done this to myself, and I'm so frustrated that I've done this to myself, and I want to stop doing this to myself, but I can't. And I don't know if that is anything close to how you've been feeling. I guess I'm just sharing my experience of something that may or may not be similar to what you've experienced. But I know that you definitely will not be alone in how you felt and how you feel after the appointment that you've had today. And I think that's another thing, when you get to our kind of age, the medical problems do start to surface. I was really lucky. The nurses, there were 2 of them in the room, were lovely to me. I think when the staff are not nice, that makes such an impact. Don't worry about only having a limited number of characters. It's the slow chat thing, and it's to do with subscriber numbers and that. So I do know that it can force you to wait a certain amount of time before you can reply. I'm actually really angry that the staff did not help you when you were obviously distressed. I just don't understand how they could stand by and not help. I don't think I've mentioned, if I have, it's not been for a long time. I actually used to wear glasses. I'm long-sighted and have an alternating astigmatism. But I actually had eye surgery. Now, it's not laser eye surgery because my eyes were too fucked for laser surgery. It was a bit more involved than that, and I now don't have to wear glasses or lenses, but it still amazes me every single day when I wake up in the morning and I open my eyes and I can see. But yeah, particularly if you are someone who wears glasses and you've had to take them off and you can't really see well without them, then the staff should damn well be at least giving you your glasses so you can see, rather than, you know, risking you stumbling about. I am very angry on your behalf, which I hope it's okay to say. Well, I've said it now. But yeah, I get the nurses are overworked and underpaid and stressed, but a little bit of compassion and humanity can go a long way. What I had done, it's either LASIK or LASIK, and I'm not sure which, but they've this is going to sound really horrible, so I apologise if talking about eyes is a bit gruesome. So you're short-sighted. I'm long-sighted, so I could see without my glasses, but not very well. And if I didn't wear them, then I would have a headache. And also, whenever I focused, one eye would turn in, and that still sometimes happens when I'm tired. But they implanted a false lens in front of my natural lens, and then once that had healed, they did a bit of laser surgery to give me perfect vision. What cake mix did you buy? And if you have a photo of the cake that you baked that you can send me as a DM on Instagram, I would certainly love to see it. I would say that, yeah, the eye surgery was life-changing. I did wear contact lenses, but I found that I got that gritty feeling in my eyes. And I think when you have an eating disorder as well, your eyes can be more dry and it can affect your vision, and yeah, it can cause all sorts of problems. Have I ever done a Betty Crocker mix? I'm not sure, but I did use Betty Crocker icing, I think. Ooh, cupcakes with a salted caramel icing, and getting it from M&S for 20p. That is a definite bargain. Well done you for managing to get something cheap from M&S. But yeah, I find baking relaxing, but it's not eating disorder driven. Like, I don't bake to feed other people. I bake because I enjoy it, and it just soothes me. It's a bit like decorating, like painting walls. of a room. I find that very soothing as well. Thank you. I will look at the photo after the live chat, because if I look at it now, it will make the chat freeze. So I will look at it afterwards. But I can't wait to see what you baked. I love seeing what other people have done. And I'm really glad that you found something that can help distract you a bit. But yeah, I have a couple of box mixes which I got and will hopefully be using in vlogs this year. But I think having something that can help you to stop dwelling on maybe what's happened or being discussed at an appointment is a really great idea. And I know baking is a food thing, but I think something that involves your brain and your hands is really good. That's why I do a lot of crochet. I did do a lot of cross stitch. I tend to just do crochet now because it's so much easier. Yeah, it's the way that baking takes up all your attention, which does make it a great distraction, and it can be fun as well when it comes to the decorating part, because you can just go wild with the decoration if you want to. It's not so much that I find crochet easier than cross stitch. It's just that it's just the yarn and the hook, whereas cross stitch is a lot of paraphernalia, so it's a lot of stuff that I have to drag out to cross stitch. But I've been doing crochet now for I don't know how long. Probably about 2 years, but I think it depends what you're doing and how complicated it is. But I would love to see some of the stuff that you've cross stitched if there's anything that you're working on at the moment. But that's what I do when I feel like I might be tempted to purge or binge and purge. I will do something like crochet or cross stitch. Baking won't work if I have binge urges because it's food, but they just kind of help to change my focus. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I think a lot of recovery can be trial and error. Certainly when you're an adult and when you don't have a whole team around you or somebody with you 24/7. It does make it a lot more difficult, but not impossible. I would say the two crochet channels I watch, Blossom Crochet and Bella Coco, are fantastic because they both explain it really clearly, and their tutorials are really, really good. And they do use the British crochet terms because I know that it's different between Britain and America, and that can just get so confusing. I'm glad that you find my videos give you comfort and provide you with distraction. I guess they do that for me as well when I'm filming them and editing them, and thinking about what to do for them, because yeah, it can take quite a lot of time to put it all together. Especially with vlogs and things, the unedited footage can sometimes be like 40 minutes long, and by the time I've finished it's down to 20 minutes because there's a lot of stuff that just does not need to be in there. But it makes me feel like I'm doing something productive but healthy, if that makes sense, because it's not something I'm doing that's driven by the eating disorder, and it's why I like to do the vlogs as well as just the food content, and the eating disorder recovery stuff, because I don't want to be just a recovery channel, especially because most of my recovery content is unlisted, because at the moment I'm not brave enough to put it all out there. There's just too much shame and fear of judgment attached to that. It's so much easier with the podcast because people can't see me and I can't see myself when I'm editing it. I can only hear myself. But I think finding things that, hobbies I guess, or pastimes that are not driven by the eating disorder is also a really key part of recovery. I've actually got quite a lot of interests that I'm hoping to introduce into the channel over the coming months. I only film when I'm doing something productive, so I have days when I'm not productive at all. I had a day, I can't even remember when it was. But yeah, there was a day when I did absolutely nothing productive and I had a big pile of ironing to do and I couldn't even face that. And I think there's a lot of pressure we put on ourselves to constantly be productive. That's okay, it's perfectly fine to leave to get a snack. I think we've probably, we've overrun a bit anyway, so I should also go and get my evening snack. But it has been a pleasure to talk to you, and I will have a look at your DM and I will rate your bake. But take care of yourself, and I really hope you are feeling better tomorrow. And thank you for dropping by.